I love that opening quote, Frederick Douglass's opening quote, that seems to kind of be the whole reason for doing this film. We have to do with the past only as we can make it useful to the present and to the future. I thought it was really brilliant the way you began with the 1965 Watts riots. And I was wondering what we can learn from what happened in 1992. It seems like we didn't learn much in those 26 years between 1965 and 1992, and now 25 years later, you know, you can't help but wonder, our latter-day Rodney Kings and Latasha Harlins, in the form of Trayvon Martin and Philando Castile and Alton Sterling and Freddie Gray and all of that, and the protests that have gone on with Charlottesville. Did you guys get involved in a lot of discussions, and why can we not just get along, as Rodney says?
That's a first question.
A whole lot of questions in there.
A lot of questions, yes. But you can take it apart. What kind of discussions did you get in as you were making this?
I mean, I can comment on what you have.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The quote that you brought up at the beginning from Frederick Douglass is from a speech that he was asked to give on the 4th of July, and the year's going to escape me, but as kind of an idea of celebrating him, and he took the opportunity to talk about the ridiculous contradictions that are at the heart of America, and it's an incredible, incredible speech. And that is something that we talked a lot about, just even from the beginning of looking at footage and this constant, at least, I don't know, I can speak for me personally, watching the footage and having this kind of constant sense of cognitive dissonance of like feeling conflicting emotions all the time, while sympathies for things, and then wait, but that doesn't feel right, but this is, and I think that is very much at the heart of our country. So that was a conversation that we had a lot, and it's why we used that quote at the top, not only because of its significance thematically, but really where the speech that it comes from.
Generally speaking, we both got into the world of making films because we feel like there's an opportunity to ask questions and hopefully elicit and inspire conversation. So this is not us saying feel and think this. I think there's an intention behind the film, probably more so, and maybe I think of it as an ocean between, maybe it's a small little river between the two of them, but I think there's a difference between intention and a message, and I think there's an intention behind the film. The intention is to say, can we create an immersive experience for you all to have all the feelings and thoughts that you just kind of displayed for us and asked that question, is for the audience to go through that same experience, intellectually and emotionally. So the type of conversations we had, honestly, was lent into consistently looking into the contradictions of kind of American society, but also the way in which you get to that place is hopefully by making a film that is, we're not going to solve these problems in 90 minutes to 2 hours in a film, but what we can do is ask the right questions. And in order to ask the right questions, especially in the context of this incident and story, we had to make sure that we're also seeing it through the lens of multiple POVs. So a lot of conversations that we had was making sure that each scenario had the right context, as best as we could. It was also very deliberate in being able to tell different points of views of that scenario itself. And then as a result, even practically speaking, I think that's also what propels the narrative of the film, is the ability, like you could be watching, the sequence that's the day of the verdict is like a 45-minute long sequence. Half of what makes that, at least in my opinion, really interesting is that you see it from so many different points of view. You'd be seeing the same thing happen through so many different lenses, and that became just, again, practically and creatively, that actually became like a major part of what propels the narrative of the storytelling.